So this is becoming my new thing to do, I guess. Make a little video while I'm going somewhere. Just running an errand. Yeah. ShopRite up here. I love good produce, and I'm aware of when the best stuff comes out. Right now is the time to buy grapes, but also blackberries are unreal right now. You have to get blackberries. ShopRite has, I mean, listen, Andrea is not a fan of blackberries. I gave her some of these blackberries the other day, and she was like, and now we're both obsessed with them. And next month will be giant navel oranges, which are going to be great. But listen, that's not what I wanted to talk about. Another discussion on Twitter about, why don't more Republicans work in comics? And is it because they're blacklisted? Is it because nobody will hire them? Is it, and those that are like, could you be an established Republican and then find work in comics? Or like, people have a really weird idea about how this industry works. There isn't some Illuminati, some secret cabal that runs things. There are bad actors, and I think it's been encouraging to see some of those bad actors kind of get shown the door recently. But for the most part, there's no conspiracy. Yes, you can be an out Republican, you could be an out conservative, and work in comics. You can. I'm living proof of it. You're allowed to be who you are and work in comics. The great thing about the arts is that despite what sometimes it seems, conformity isn't actually the norm. I mean, when I went to high school in the late 80s and early 90s, I'm that old, being goth, being punk rock, being in the art crowd as I was, and I kind of always find myself, there was a big thing about not being a conformist. You'd call people posers or biters or wannabes or conformists. I mean, people who just did everything they could do to try to fit in. And I mean, listen, there's something to be said for conformity in the sense that I think some success in terms of dealing with people socially comes from just sort of going along with the crowd. But it's never been what I do. I mean, I've always been very independent. I've always made my own choices and decided for myself what the truth was. So to sort of be in comics now, which should be a conglomerate of creative people with all kinds of different ideas. And by the way, far leftism isn't necessarily in and of itself nonconformity. It can be conformity. I mean, it's whatever the prevailing thought is. That is what going along to get along is all about. But anyway, it turns out that there are a lot of people in this business who have their own thoughts and their own politics, their own ideas about what comics should be, what art is, who these characters are, and they bring these ideas to comics, and they're all welcome, they're all valuable. The best ideas do tend to win out in all things. But if you think that there is a blacklist, I mean, in comics, in the comic industry, you've been sold a bill of goods. And in a way, I almost feel like that bill of goods was sold to you by a very small group of vocal people who are trying to perpetuate a myth. in order to create the feeling that people with differing points of view aren't welcome, well, I wouldn't believe them if I were you. The truth of the matter is, what matters in comics and in all creative industries is talent. And it may be true that people who have less talent will find themselves along an easier road if they adopt certain preferential views that are also shared by editors or particular editors. But I think it would be malpractice and frowned upon by almost everyone in this business if there was something like a blacklist that was prejudiced against people who were to the right of center. And I don't think it exists. Even though I've heard stories. The stories that I hear, I mean, people tell me, oh, well, I'm definitely blacklisted. Then you really look into it and you kind of find out that person ran afoul of someone. I mean, like, said something, did something that was really, really, like, offensive or so on and so forth. And, or they were extremely difficult to work with. And there are a lot of people like that who are impossible to work with. But you know what? Like, when I started at DC Comics, there was it was kind of like a rule of conduct that everybody kind of understood, and it was repeated a lot. And it was kind of like, okay, in order to be successful at DC Comics, you need to be 2 of 3 things. If you're all 3, that's awesome. But you need to be 2 of 3 things. You need to be either really good, really fast, or really nice. So you don't have to be all 3 of those things. You only need to be 2. You can be really good and really fast, and then you can be kind of a jerk. Or you could be, super nice and really good. Hey, that's the best thing to be. Except they would rather you be fast as well. You just need to be 2 of those 3 things to be successful in comics. You'll notice that nowhere in there is any reference to your politics. Now, I say all this because I'm concerned about young creators, especially this new generation that I'm noticing that tends to be a little bit more vocally right. I'm worried about them feeling like there's no place for them, their voices, their creative ideas in comics, and that just isn't. That's something. If I can help tamp that down a little bit, I'd like to do that. I want to be encouraging and welcoming of everyone to work in comics. If you believe that there's a blacklist, if you believe that you are unwelcome to work in comics, well, you make that a reality. Just by you perpetuating the myth, sharing it with other people, it's discouraging, and you don't want to be a part of that. You don't want to be a part of discouraging people from pursuing their dream of working in comics. Be part of the welcoming committee. Be part of the group of people in this business or around this business or even in the fan community that encourages new voices, encourages creative people to do their thing, and then let the market work it out. The market will decide. I mean, the market is the ultimate the market is the ultimate blacklist. I mean, if you can't sell a comic book, you might as well be blacklisted, for real. But anyway, that's all I wanted to say. I hear people talk about, oh, there aren't you're one of maybe 6 Republicans in comics. I keep my mouth shut. I keep confidences. You don't want to out people as anything, because if people wanted their political feelings to be known, they would do it on their own, and you guys would already know. But I will tell you that some of the biggest names in comics are Republicans or conservatives. Really big names, you'd be surprised. And oftentimes, like, if you just don't know someone's politics, be suspicious that maybe they're Republicans. It's a safe, it's a good assumption. It's a good assumption. Let's put it that way. So this is my way of saying welcome. I mean, if you're a left winger, a far left winger, if you are a right winger, if you are, whatever you are, if you're just a centrist, it's all good. Just make comics. Make good, entertaining comics. Your job should be to, your desire should be to just want to make people happy, like everyone. All right, and that is that's all I wanted to say. I got to go in there and get those blackberries now. I hope there are some left. I'm telling you, go out right now and go buy blackberries and tell me they're not the best things that you've ever tasted. They're amazing. And then in January, get those giant jumbo navel oranges. You'll be glad that you did. All right, so this is Comic Artist Pro Secrets, taking you grocery shopping. You guys have a great day. Bye. Oh my God, look at these blackberries. They are from heaven. Oh my, and they got the oranges too. The oranges are here. Look at the size of these things. Awesome.